YouTube, welcome back to week 2 of our faction focus. This time we're looking at Bretonnia.
Oui, oui.
Oui, oui, les Français de la Warhammer. What's their planet called again? Like Despair or some shit? Whatever
Like
it's called.
Malice.
Malice, that's what it is. Yeah, Malice. It's very Warhammer of them. Anyways, so this is our month-long road of trials here, where we're going to go through every faction and examine them from a competitive multiplayer experience. So we started last week with Empire, and now we're here with Bretonnia. So the Germans and now the French. And yeah, so we're going to go right into it, and let's talk a little bit about the faction overview. So what do you get with Bretonnia? You get Cav, you get Honor, you get Glory. So, so lots of cycle charging, lots of hammer and anvil tactics. I mean, that's their flavor. They love the knights. Of course, the anvil is made of peasant scum. And then the knights are coming in, their shining glory and their magical weapons, and they clear up.
Spit on you.
I spit on you. Would you agree? Would you agree, Jonathan?
I would agree.
We should do the whole thing in Cajun accents. Let me tell you, my friend.
Gumbo,
a gumbo. I like the gumbo.
Right.
You gotta go gumbo there, my friend. Okay, so yeah, go for it.
So, another thing about Bretonnia is that they are the only faction that has air cav. So that's another one of their little tastes right there. A little shrimp in the gumbo there.
A little shrimp in the gumbo.
But let's go ahead and move on to their strengths. Now, the first strength of Bretonnia is the easiest one: the cavalry. They have, first of all, they have the most cav options in the game. They can go low tier, they can go high tier. They have very cost-effective cav. I mean, look at Grail Knights. They do magic damage. They have perfect vigor. They do anti-large. They don't do armor piercing, but they're just really good.
And they're physical resist.
Very solid unit.
They have a physical resist.
Yep, they're very cost-effective. Is definitely the word for it. And you can even go Knights of the Realm. You can go questing knights. They just have a ton of options in the cav game. They even have the air cav, of course, which we'll go into more later.
Right.
The cav is really good against infantry. It's good against monstrous infantry. It's good against other cav. And basically, it's the most versatile cav in the game.
Yeah.
Like Grail Knights, they can take on pretty much anything. The only thing that they really struggle against is single entity models.
Right.
It'll be something we talk about a little bit later.
That's a theme. Yeah, but yeah, 100%. Like, I would agree with everything you said. Even their non-anti-cav is good at fighting cav. Like, not Knights of the Realm, questing knights have really high stats for cavalry. So yeah, they have a weaker charge, sure, but if you get them in fighting, for instance, demigriffs, they'll do all right because they have like 40 melee and 40 melee defense and melee attack, which is huge compared to most cav. So yeah,
they're pretty good.
Very good. It's very cost effective. So that's 100% a strength. And even though it pains me to say, the peasants are also quite cost effective. So it allows Bretonnia to go can go extremely wide with cost effective peasants. Yeah, and you can bring them with 325 with silver shields, which is huge in certain matchups. You can bring a lot of spears, a lot of little swordsmen. Even their foot squires aren't too bad at 650 now. They actually have a little bit of a place now, even though they were garbage before. And I still think they're a little bit overpriced, but not much. Maybe 25 or so. And of course, peasant archers are very, very effective at 400. They're some of the more effective archers in the game. I mean, they're like gobbo firing squads, but they actually have a little bit more range. So they're even better than gobbo firing squads. Of course, they're more expensive, but they're very, very good. So yeah, they definitely have some of the better, most cost-effective infantry in the game.
Definitely. And these cost-effective infantry, of course, form the anvil that the cav is the hammer to. And on the infantry, I do want to mention the peasant mob. 100 cost unit, maybe the worst stats in the game, but an incredibly useful,
just zombies.
Useful unit. Yeah, they're just like zombies, except well, they're not unbreakable, so they're not as good as zombies.
Unbreakable. Nah, but zombies can crumble faster.
If y'all saw any of my games during the Faction Focus Week, you'll just see how effective peasants are. Anyway, let's move on to another strength of the bone
of the bone.
I don't know where that was going. The Bretonnians here, but Bretonnians can make a pretty good little goon squad. I would say a little flying goon squad. So they have Luon up in the air. He has a ton of buffs. He has the Sword of Karon, so he can do some extreme alpha strikes. You team him up with a paladin who now has anti-large and Guardian, and it can be pretty strong. Besides that, you can also team them up with Hippogriffs and Pegasus Knights and healing, which can make some, as y'all saw from my Bretonnia week, can make for some really interesting alpha striking opportunities. Although Hippogriffs and Pegasi definitely have their problems, and we'll go into that a little bit later.
Mm-hmm. That they do. And then let me tell you, anyways, and the final strength that we're going to talk about is the Fey Enchantress. She was a great lord in Game 1, and that hasn't changed in Game 2. She's hard to kill because she's very fast. She has Lore of Life, which is one of the better lores in the game. She, of course, has the Draining effect that also applies a negative, I think, 5 melee attack. So she's a very, very good lord to just run in there. And especially you mix her with some paladins with the Garden effect, she's very hard to kill. So you just run her in there, and she can just drain whole blobs of infantry. The Living Mortis Engine, very scary. Oh, yeah. And then, of course...
She's squishy?
She is squishy, but she's fast and she's nimble. And she, with the Garden ability, you have those paladins there protecting her. She's not easy to kill, surprisingly. Yeah. Of course, she also has those free 2 Comet of Cazadores called the Chalice of Potion. She has so many things to bring. She's a very good lord, very cost effective. I think you can bring her for about 2,000, and she's, she can do it all. So she's a very, very good lord, and she's definitely one of the major strengths of Bretonnia. But for me, I think this was more a problem than you. But they definitely have their weaknesses. Bretonnia do, and I think that as you alluded to earlier, the biggest weakness, and for me at least, was they have a single entity killing problem.
Definitely.
They could just not fucking kill single entities. I mean, they have the tools to kill them. Like, if you take a Grail Knight and you charge Kolek, they'll beat Kolek, Or, I mean, they'll do a lot of damage to him at least.
Well, yeah, they won't beat him, Kolek.
But they'll do a lot of damage to him. But here's the thing. You're never going to get that engagement if your opponent's playing well. They're going to put Kolek in a mixer of infantry or surrounded by other units that will support him, and you'll never be able to get that full surround. So all you're going to get is a 1 or 2 knights getting at him at a time, and he's going to punch them to death with his giant hammer. And then you lose models that cannot be resurrected, so your healing is useless too. So killing single entity models is an absolute terror if your opponent knows what they're doing. And it's very frustrating to deal with. And even if you use like the Alpha Strike, like you were mentioning, they do have problems in that Pegasus Knights, once they get mucked in, they're hard to get out. And of course, they won't leave their as they are knights, they won't leave their compatriots behind. So there's a sort of circle around, flying in the sky as their models get whittled away. So that's a tough thing to deal with, and it's something I had a lot of problems with in my week.
Definitely. All right, and we'll go ahead and move on to another weakness here, and that is that they're a one-trick pony. Now, Bretonnia basically has one thing you can do. You can go Wide Peasants and Cav. That's pretty much your only option here. Now, the only thing you can really do to flavor it up is bring archers, which you're probably bringing anyway. So you bring like 4 archers, you bring like 4 cav units, a bunch of fodder infantry. That's basically the same build for almost every faction, because that's like it's pretty much it works really well. The one thing that they can do, which is cav, of course, they do it really well. In fact, better than any other faction in the game. But it's, like I said, it's the only thing they can do. If you try to go infantry heavy, and we tried this during the week plenty of times, it doesn't tend to go too well. The infantry just can't hold up. You really have to rely on those knights to get the killing power in there. So it can be really tough as far as, as far as build variation. Which makes them kind of a more boring faction to play for a week straight, that is. I wouldn't say they're boring when you take them as a one-off every few games or whatever. But they are a one-trick pony, and they don't have a lot of options as far as strategy. You pretty much know what the enemy is going to bring when you're fighting Bretonnia if they're going to be competitive.
Yeah. Oh, I would tack on to that. I'd say I was bored with them. Like Empire, I played a lot, and I there were difficulties with Empire. Obviously, they're on the bottom tier, so is Bretonnia. But I enjoyed Empire because you could try different things, and it was exciting. And you could bring funky builds, and there's a lot of magic. And it's like Bretonnia, if you want to win, there's one build you have to bring, and you may still not even win if you bring that build. So it's just kind of, I don't know. For me, it wasn't. I enjoyed it. It was fun at times, but by and large, I was just kind of like, meh.
Yeah. I would say overall I enjoyed the week, but it did get a little boring.
Yeah. It definitely wasn't they're definitely not my favorite faction. They were my favorite, my best faction in Game 1, but they were definitely, they've fallen off from that, certainly in Game 2.
Okay.
Moving along.
with that being said, now we're going to move on to our balancing. And the first thing we have on the list here is the fix for the charge animations for Hippogriff Knights and Pegasus Knights. Now, in Game 1, Pegasus Knights, I don't know about Hippogriff Knights because they sucked in Game 1 and I never brought them. But Pegasus Knights actually all piled in on one unit and were therefore able to do a lot of damage. In Game 2, they're much more spread out, which gets them caught up in the formation a lot more, and also makes it so that they can't get their damage in. I would suggest CA bringing the Pegasus Knights back to where they pile in. I think that'll help them a lot. Now, in Game 1, I would like to state that sometimes that could be a little bit too powerful. I saw like some Pegasus Knights hitting Kolek when in Game 1 would absolutely do a ton of damage on this charge. So they may need to adjust the stats a little bit to make it not too powerful, but I think they need that ability to just pile in on one target. Yeah, it's really going to help a lot. As far as Hippogriff Knights go, should be about the same thing for them. Obviously, it's going to be a little harder to implement since they're much bigger, but we're thinking maybe gives them an anti-large bonus, because really, what I would really like CA to do is make it, like we were saying, the Bretonnians have a weakness in single entity killing power. Make it so that the Pegasus Knights and Hippogriff Knights are that answer. Make them good against single entity large units. That's what they need to be good at. If that's a unit that can use to deal with someone like Kolek or a Shaggoth or
Sartharel or any of those guys,
or a Carnosaur or anything like that, then that's great. That's the hole that the Bretonnia is missing as far as being competitive. Yep. And it would still keep their faction flavor, because as one-trick pony as they are, we're not saying that Bretonnia shouldn't be the cav-heavy faction it is.
No, it's who they are.
I'm happy with it.
Yeah.
It's just playing it for a week in a row was kind of... Yeah. You really notice it.
Well, we're going to have the same with dwarves, right? Like, maybe even dwarves at least have a couple different builds they can bring. But, like, yeah, dwarves are the turtle faction, you know? You can't change that. I know one would ever argue that should be changed. But there's ways you can make it, you know, a little bit more fun, a little more interesting. Yeah, yeah. But anyways, and I think another balancing thing that my personal wish would be, or my personal balancing change would be, battle pilgrims need to be a little bit better. I had them fight gore herds and a lot of other weak infantry, and I saw them underperform, and it bothered me. And they need a unit that can cut through chaff fast, because otherwise you just get mucked up, and you have to micro your cav a lot. But before you know it, your whole infantry line's gone, and your anvil is dead. And obviously, Bretonnia should not have steadfast, you know, elite soldiers fucking, you know, Jedi slashing people left and right, but they should have guys that with a little bit of cost can, you know, hold out. I wouldn't mind them getting a cost increase and being increased to be a little bit better, but I just think battle pilgrims should be better at killing chaff.
I wouldn't mind a small nerf for battle pilgrims. I didn't find them as effective as you did, but I also didn't use them as very much, so maybe that's the reason why. I mean, I didn't bring them, so that's a pretty good indication that that, you know, I don't think they're that useful. But I can see a small buff for battle pilgrims. Maybe give like battle pilgrims and flagellants like 5 bonus versus infantry, like the rest of the units of that class does. I mean, look at, these are higher tier infantry, but look at witch elves or plague monks.
Well, look at Blackheart Corsairs are 650, have 90 armor, are very fast, and have a bonus versus infantry. I mean, it doesn't make sense that flagellants have less armor. I think they may have a little bit more leadership, sure, but they don't have that bonus versus infantry.
They're unbreakable.
No, it's not flagellants. I meant, battle pilgrims is what I meant. Sorry.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, they have less armor, they have a shield, but they only have 30. It just, I don't know. You look at a unit like Blackheart Corsairs who are so good, and you look at a unit that are flagellants which are so bad. Yeah. Doesn't make sense to me.
Maybe some bonus versus infantry for those units.
Sure. Anyways, let's move on to wishes. Wishes for dishes.
All right. So my wish is for them to give Alberic de Bordelot a reason to live. Because there is pretty much no reason for you to bring him over.
He's useless.
Lewin is an absolute beast, and Alberic is just Walmart Lewin. Well, he's not Walmart.
Not even Walmart Lewin. He's off-brand, like generic lord.
Yeah, well, that's a generic lord. He's like if Lewin.
No, I'm saying he's an off-brand generic lord. He's like, you ever see those cookies eat the middle first? They're like fake Oreos. That's what Alberic is.
Yeah. But Alberic, they need to give him differentiate him in some way. He doesn't have healing. His abilities are not as good as
This Trident sucks.
And it's just the only thing about the Trident is that it does give my 16 leadership, but it doesn't last very long, so it's not that great. Maybe buff that ability to actually be able to do some decent damage.
Yeah.
But in general, just finds a different role for Alberto Bordalo. I know he's another Griffin Lord, but I don't know. Maybe give him a little bit something else here.
You can give him something.
Just make it a little bit interesting.
Agreed. And then our final wish, my wish, would be a Hippogriff hero. I don't think it should be a paladin because I don't want it to have the guardian ability. But what I mean by a Hippogriff hero is like you make him a knight on a Hippogriff, and he just has a high bonus versus large armor piercing. Doesn't do guardian. He's just literally there to kill other single entity models, and he can cost like 2,000. I don't care what the cost is, but just make him really good at killing single entity models. And I think that could also solve the problem that Bretonnia faces. He could be like a Terrorgeist type monster, that equivalent, but obviously without healing and all that, different specifics. But in general, 2,000 cost, huge unit, can do decently against infantry, but it's meant to kill single enemy models. That would be huge for Bretonnia, and that's what I'd like to see from them. That would be my little wish. Moving on though, so usually we end, or last time, usually in our first video we ended it here, but we're actually gonna go through all the matchups very quickly. From a multiplayer perspective. We're just going to go real quick. A few of them, John and I will give our different opinions, but if you only hear one of our opinions, it means we agree. So, John, take us away.
All right. So, Bretonnia versus the Wood Elves. Now, this is a good matchup for Bretonnia.
Yep.
Bretonnia can go very wide. Battle programs this is one of the matchups where they're actually pretty good. Just going really wide with the cav and peasants and all that. The Wood Elves are a very expensive faction, so they really do have a lot of trouble with that. They're also a faction that doesn't have any armor, so the fact that Bretonnia doesn't have a lot of armor piercing really doesn't matter here. So their archers are great against them. All their knights are great, except like questing knights. You wouldn't bring those guys. Their infantry have silver shields. Battle programs can take down some lightly armored infantry pretty well. And it's just really tough for the Wood Elves here.
Agreed. Okay, moving on, we're going to go with Empire here. So, John, I think it's a bit of an even matchup between Empire and Bretonnia. So Bretonnia obviously has more cav options, but Empire, Demigryphs, basically I think that between the Demigryphs and the Grail Guardians, it's all whoever uses their magic better and their buffs better will decide the outcome. And then Empire has, of course, artillery that can help, swing the battle in their favor, but Bretonnia has cheaper infantry and more cost-effective infantry, so it can swing that battle in their favor. So, yeah, definitely an even matchup and a good one.
Yep. All right, moving on. Next, we're going to look at the Beastman, and from my experience, I found it to be a mostly even matchup, but Sakarma has a different opinion here.
Yeah, I got fucked by every Beastman player I played. Those multiple Cygor builds, I couldn't deal with them because single-entity models. I think I even showed at one point a Grail Guardian fighting a Cygor, and they had about half health, and they lost against the Cygor, one-on-one. So I was just livid, and then there was a couple other builds where it was just all infantry and Centaurs, and I just couldn't get any cost-effective trades. So for Beastmen was a nightmare as Bretonnia.
Right. I can definitely see that. Perhaps just the games I played, I didn't.
Of course.
Have to face up against that quite so often. So, I don't recall losing to Beastmen, so
I didn't beat them.
Didn't fight the right person.
Yeah.
All right, but moving on. Another one we have a different opinion on is the vampires. Now, I personally would say it's even, but I can definitely see how Sakarma thinks that the vampires actually have a advantage. So go ahead and explain that, Sakarma.
Well, I just think the Terrorgeists are very, very good. Killing a Terrorgeist, I brought, like, the one match I played against vampires, or one or two that I casted, I brought, like, a huge goon squad. It was, like, Luan, some Pegasus Knights, and a Paladin, and I couldn't kill their Terrorgeist. He just flew away for the whole match. And we were faster, and we still couldn't catch him and kill him, and it was just frustrating. It was to no end. It was frustrating to me. So yeah, and of course, if you can't kill the Terrorgeist, you can just swoop in and then pull out because it has such mass, and it gets kills on the models every time it does charge, so your healing is useless. And then the Mortis engine was there. It was just a nightmare for me. So yeah, that was basically it was just Terrorgeist. Killing Terrorgeist was very frustrating.
All right, and the next faction is the Greenskins. So what do you think about the Greenskins?
Oh, I mean, well, I think we agree on this one. Is Greenskins are very, very good right now.
Oh, yeah.
And Biggins are of course amazing against Bretonnia because they just crush everything. But I don't know that. Would you say it's even or uneven? I would say it's even, maybe.
I would say it's even, though it does advantage the greenskins
Yeah,
slightly.
but not a lot, because the thing about Bretonnia is that they have all the cav, and greenskins do kind of struggle against cav. I mean, they obviously have Wurzag, and he can effigy to get and then foot a Gork, and that's a whole unit gone, so that's good. But greenskins don't really have that many options to deal with cav, especially anti-large cav. So if you bring a heavy cav build against greenskins and you're able to micro it well, you can do all right.
Yeah, yeah. All right, and Dark Elves. We both agree that this one's even.
Yeah.
There's a lot of things that can go on here. I would give the slight advantage to the Dark Elves because they have Witch Elves and all that. But it can, from our experience, it was pretty even. Moving on to the High Elves, though. I personally think it's more even. But Sakarma, what do you think there, Sakarma?
Well, when I played High Elves, I had no problem crushing them every time I played them. It wasn't even close. There was no match that was close. So again, like you said earlier, it might just be of who we were playing and how we were playing. It's hard to say from even a weak sample. But yeah, I just felt that the High Elves. The problem with the High Elves is they don't have any anti-large cav besides the Fireborn, right? So they're always going to lose to Grail Knights, and then their infantry is too expensive to be cost effective. Like you can bring White Lions, and sure they'll beat they'll beat the Bretonnian infantry, but they won't do it quickly, and you're going to lose the cav battle almost every time. So that was my experience. And I just felt like I could wash over High Elves no problem, personally.
All right, I'd have to try it against a good player, but I've had a little bit more success with the High Elves against Bretonnia in the past, and we did do our High Elf week. Anyway, moving on. Bretonnia versus Dwarfs, that's bad. Bretonnia's not good against armor. Bretonnia versus Chaos, that's bad. They're not good against armor or single enemy models.
Everyone's got a bad matchup against Chaos.
Lizardmen, also bad matchup. Single entity models here are the problem, and
laser
the
beams.
infantry is just way too tanky for the infantry to take.
And laser beams, ooh.
Yeah, they are good. They are good. Norska, we'd say it's pretty even so far. I didn't get a ton of games against Norska, but
I got a few. I think it's pretty even. I mean, I would put the advantage slightly towards Bretonnia, but not by much. I mean, Bretonnia's anti-large is better than the Norscan anti-large. So if you use it better, you can win that battle, and you can just cycle charge their infantry to death because there's no nets, of course, on Norscan.
Right. And Skaven, I only got to fight Skaven once, I think, but
I didn't at all.
Yeah, so our opinion on the Skaven matchup's not going to be great because Skaven's not a popular pick these days.
Just a quick caveat about Skaven. People don't bring Skaven. I played as Empire, I played as Bretonnia, as Greenskins, as High Elves in these past 3 weeks. I faced Skaven 2 or 3 times.
Yeah, me too. Skaven are so good too, it's weird.
Yeah,
anyway, we would say, based on our limited knowledge, we would say
even. Yeah.
And Tomb Kings, bad. Unbreakable infantry.
Halberds with shields,
piercing, anti-large.
Halberds with shields, silver shields.
Halberds with shields.
Yeah,
it's not going to be good for.
And bone giants who get like 3 or 4 kills, model kills.
Hands of the gods.
Yeah,
man, there's a lot of.
Tomb Kings are I think Tomb Kings and Chaos. Just to give a little spoiler, are probably going to be in the top tier when this is all said and done.
Yeah. All right, but that's all the factions.
So let's go quick into final thoughts. Let's do it.
All right, great. So we would definitely put Bretonnia into out of 3 tiers. Tier 1 being the top tier. We'd put Bretonnia in tier 3, the bottom tier. They're probably here with Empire and probably the Dwarfs as well.
Agreed.
I'd say they're probably one of the weakest factions in the game. It's hard to say over the Dwarfs. I'm not 100% sure, but it's got to be Dwarfs or Bretonnia for worst faction in the game.
Yeah, I agree. We thought initially, we both thought initially Empire was worse than Bretonnia, but I think after having played Bretonnia, personally, I think that if your opponent really wants to beat you as Bretonnia, they're going to bring something I call "fuck you Bretonnia" builds, which are basically just builds that are really hard for Bretonnia to beat. And it just makes it not fun to play against. Whereas Empire, you have so many different options. So there's no fuck you Empire build. There's builds that are good against Empire, but there's no like single build that's like, oh yeah, they can't win against this. I think there are builds where it's very difficult for Bretonnia to win, like extremely difficult to beat.
Yep. So in conclusion, they are one of the worst factions in the game. But in response to some of the comments I got from our other video, we say they're one of the worst factions in the game. It's not a huge margin. It's not as bad as we make it out to be. They just need like we didn't even have many balance changes in this one. They only need there's just a couple things and they put them right where they need to be in our opinion.
Agreed. Yeah, it's the problem is just, I mean, the main problem is single entity models. Single entity models saturated in heavy infantry, and it's very difficult to get at them. That's the main problem. If they can fix that and find a way to get around that with, like you said, like we both suggested, some single entity killing power, they can make it work.
Yep. And with that, that is our review of Bretonnia. Bretonnia,
yes, my friend.
The High Elves. You got anything to say before we go, Skarma?
Let me tell you, mon ami, you get some of these changes in there, and you got a gumbo going, my friend. Let me tell you.
Oui. Let me get some of that gumbo.
Mon ami, let me tell you, I guarantee you're gonna like them if you get these balance changes in there. I guarantee.
CA is just not gonna. If anyone sees this, they're just like, what are these guys?
They're gonna be. Oh man, they really want to hit that Cajun demographic. Trust me, the Cajuns love Total Warhammer.
All right, but that's all, guys. Y'all have a great night. Thanks for watching.